This conference will now be recorded.
I've been on the business that was started a week in 2016. But we'll go ahead and go around because I know there's moving faces.
Well, as Teresa Chandler, I was a industrial engineer for the planning branch at TPWD for the.
This is my first day.
Interests to call the council of governments.
James Wickham, I work for Bob, I'm a mobility manager. Usually I hang out online with the body funding in person for once.
Thanks for
Yeah.
I'm Mark Peterson. I'm the pedestrian interest representative, live in Nolanville. And I have a daughter, in so it is my second meeting.
Teresa Chandler, City.
Justin Dyer, Belton Parks and Rec, with the Belton Works. Property Whisperer with Teresa Chandler.
What's he called again? Okay. All right. And then we have James.
James Grant.
I think that's-
Director of Parks and Rec. Did well.
Oh, Tay Floyd, I'm KTMPO's GIS and AV guy.
I'm Anita Jenke, and I'm with the regional plan of the SIGCOG.
And then for online, I can't really see the order here, so just go ahead and chime in. I see Crystal on there.
Hello, my name is Crystal Kazakis. I'm with Killeen Parks and Rec.
And then Katie, she's traveling.
Hi, KD from Barrow Brewing in Salado.
Where are you at, Katie?
I'm in Estes Park, Colorado right now.
Very
Nice.
Okay. Gary?
Gary McCabe, Sun Country Cycling. I'm currently in Okinawa, Japan, where it's just about midnight.
Oh.
Is that Daniel from yeah.
And then, and one of our speakers.
And Robin is by
Texas.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for joining us. We'll get into it. We got a lot of speakers today. A lot of business to attend to. So the first thing that we're going to do is approve the action item, hopefully, for the approval of minutes from the May 13th, 2026 meeting. You can find those on page 5. Give me a second to look at those and then look for a motion to approve.
I like the motion to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, the next action item is the election of a chair and new chair and a vice chair for the FY 27. So, is there anybody that has interest in any of those positions? I can tell you that she has most of the work, if all of them. But it is a very rewarding position, and I wouldn't want anyone to shy away from it if they're concerned about whether I'd be offended if you wanted to be chair. I think it's great when other people can like step in and provide some fresh ideas, even if you're new.
Yeah, I'm still newish, like painfully new, so I'd like to volunteer for vice chair.
Great. Anybody interested in chair? I don't mind doing it again.
Well, you're knowledgeable, so that's good.
Yeah, see if I can do it one more time. Yeah. And I honestly, I was surprised to see it on the agenda because I'm sure you believe it was a year. Yeah, so. Is there a motion for you get a bond with those positions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. I was famous. All right. The next item is regarding recommendation approval of resolution 2607. 2026-07, okay, planning October 26 is National Pedestrian Safety Month, and the addition of supporting activities, and Callie is going to present.
I'm going to actually present on behalf of Callie. Do you mind switching?
You guys have a good.
Want to do the clicker? Or
There you
Thanks, Kay. Okay. Y'all like a new screen right here? Our PowerPoint slides?
Yeah, it's a good format.
So National Pedestrian Safety Month, prior to 2024, we acknowledged International Walk to School Month, and so we transitioned over to Pedestrian Month, which would encompass all of the school activities as well as safe streets and roads for all. The actual resolution is in your packet. One of the things that we really want to focus on as an advisory committee is to acknowledge the fatalities and serious injuries that took place between 2021 and 2024. There are 43 fatalities and 88 serious injuries involving pedestrians in our KTMPO region. If you're not familiar with our region encompasses all of Bell County, Coppers Cove, and Kipner. So that's a tremendous amount of friends, families, and neighbors that were either killed or seriously injured while walking. And as an active transportation advisory committee, that number is totally unacceptable. We believe that pedestrian safety is a shared responsibility. We want to promote safety to all of our walkers, strollers, rollers, but also we support improved pedestrian infrastructure that encourages all road users to be vigilant and obey traffic laws. What we are seeking is a recommendation from ATAC to approve this resolution proclaiming October 2026 as National Pedestrian Safety Month. And then it will move up to the Technical Advisory Committee and the Policy Board to adopt this resolution. Once it's adopted, we'll use social media to promote education. And if any of our municipalities want to have an event that would embrace that, that is always welcome as well. And if you inform us of that, we will definitely share that information. Are there any questions?
How does this one differ from? Was that just bicycle?
Yes, May was National Bike Month, and so that was our total focus. We did the Ride of Silence. That's actually where I met Sean at, and his mom. And then we did a little campaign, a little bit different. Who do you ride for? And so actually that's spurred the conversation that I had with Carla, Sean's mom, is he was actually out riding the Ride of Silence for someone that had struck while they were riding with his friends. And so that was totally focused on riding, cycling, and this one is pedestrian.
So is there a motion to approve this proclamation for October 26th for pedestrian safety?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All approve? All in favor? Comment? The next item is recommendation for the approval of resolution 2026-08, claiming October 21st is Unplug Texas Day and the addition of supporting activities. Oh, Teresa doesn't think.
Yeah. So Unplug Texas is a day that's officially observed and established by the Texas legislation. And what it's doing is encouraging people to get off of their electronic devices. Most people spend an average over 7 hours a day. So we're trying to encourage everyone to take time away, either go outside, take a hike, walk your dogs. I know it's 112 degrees outside, so maybe some indoor activities, cooking with the family, maybe board games. If you don't know what a board game is, we can talk about that. So yeah, just encouraging everyone to disconnect. And there is a they are recognizing October 21st as Unplug Texas Day. And that's what this initiative is all about. Any questions? Y'all need to know what a board game is? Yeah.
All right, so are there any events in the cities that we want to highlight for Unplug Texas in particular, or is we're just getting started with this?
Well, we're just getting started with this recognition, and it is in October, so there's plenty of time. And I think that October 21st is like on a Tuesday. I'm not 100% sure. It's not a weekend day, so it's a little bit more challenging to try to organize something to unplug. But then you have to be a little bit more mindful, so you can have a family night. And I don't know if the daylight saving time is going to affect being out in the evening. But there's, like Teresa mentioned, there's all types of ways that you can unplug.
All right, so looking for a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, all in favor? All right. Moving to a discussion item regarding the legislative update on electric bicycles. I got to look through these slides in advance, and that is, I didn't realize that there was so much going on with this particular topic, but we have a presenter, Robin Stallings, is Executive Director of Bike Texas.
Hey, can you make his image a little bit bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once he starts talking.
Robin, you can start talking.
Okay, sorry, I didn't hear, it looked like it cut out. So can you all hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And I cannot tell what slide we're on. So I'm wondering how that will show up here. So are y'all advancing the slides? How's this?
Yes, Robin, I'm advancing the slides, and you're on your cover page, Bike Texas, Texas e-bike law, past, present, and proposed.
Right. So now I see the slide there. So y'all are going to advance. Shall I say advance or next slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, thanks. By the way, we have plenty of time for questions. I love doing that. But before I start, I wanted to just tell you all that I had ankle surgery, minor, 2 days ago, and I'm on pain meds. So if I'm a little off my game, that's why. But I'm happy to be here and excited about the topic. Next slide. So Bike Texas has been involved with e-bikes for a long time. We passed the first law in the country in 2001 and many other states, and the feds modeled after the Texas law. By 2019, it was outdated and still not bad, but we updated it with the 3-class system. Next slide. So the basics of it was, it had to have, if it was 20 miles an hour or less and under 100 pounds in the beginning. Now it's a 3-class system. Next slide. Y'all are maybe familiar with this, but still hadn't been clear for everybody. But basically, class 1 and class 2 are up to 20 miles per hour. But class 1 has pedals only. Class 2 can have a throttle. And then class 3 is pedal only. It can go up to 28 miles per hour. So a lot of times people are confusing, especially class 3 with, faster e-bikes and stuff because of that top speed. But a normal bike can go 28 miles per hour. So it's just because it can doesn't mean that people do that. So the class 3 can be a little bit confusing for people that haven't actually ridden them. But they're basically even more like a normal bike than a class 1. Class 2 is very different because of the throttle, and because and that's where more crashes and accidents are throttle related, because the you can throttle and accelerate while you're turning through a wet intersection and slide out. When you're pedaling a bike, you naturally stop pedaling, and so you go through that same intersection. And so that's, one example of, if somebody's had motorcycle experience, is comfortable with the throttle, but a lot of people get a throttled vehicle, whether it's a class 2 or the e-motos that we'll talk about. They're they don't have the experience for the speed that they're going. If somebody's on a normal bike and they're riding 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, they have a lot of bicycle experience behind them. But when you just reduce it to a throttle, anybody can get on one, and that's making it even more dangerous. But the class 1, class 2, and class 3 we collectively refer to as low speed electric bicycles, and that's to differentiate them. And I'll point out that, I've heard that Teslas can go 150 miles per hour. We still let them go through a school zone, but they have to follow the speed limit. So think of a class 3, it might be on a trail that's designated 10 miles per hour or 6 even, with a heavy pedestrian zone, jogging pace basically. It's still appropriate there, but only at the appropriate speed for the trail. The 2019 law allows for the trail managers to set the speed, even though all electric bikes, all 3 classes, are treated like a bicycle in the Texas law, with the exception of state parks, which we'll get to. Next slide. So the we kind of got the left and right there of what works and what doesn't work. The low-speed electric bikes, by all accounts, all over the country, it's very consistent, not perfectly consistent, but consistent throughout every state. And that's why we adopted the model legislation, and also so we could begin to see if there were differences over time with how the different classes worked and where they were appropriate. A lot of this was borrowed from Europe, where they actively discourage anything with a throttle. But in this country, there was a strong push from within the industry to keep that class 2 and have a throttle, so that, because a lot of people walk into the store thinking they want a throttle and they haven't tried the ones without. And so, but also for people that are mobility impaired, a throttle can be very helpful, especially getting started on a hill. If you have a 3-wheeler, it's especially helpful at getting started. But now those are legal everywhere. They have been since 2001, and the sky didn't fall. But the sky is falling on the new type of device that really are more akin to motorcycles. And that's what we're going to be addressing here. But I'm referring to them in the slide as fake e-bikes. A new term has been coined recently. We actually helped coin that term, e-motos, last legislative session. And so that's what I'll be referring to them as, e-motos, which is basically like an electric moped or electric motorcycle. Next slide. Oh, actually, if AV, if you don't mind going to that link with at the bottom of this slide and running that 48-second video. It's at that slide. If the audio doesn't work, it's okay. It has subtitles. "48 seconds plus setup." Okay, and now if you just start that right there.
This is a regular bicycle. This is an e-bike. E-bikes are low-speed devices that are defined in the Texas Code and are compatible with regular bicycles. allowing people of different fitness levels or abilities to ride together. E-motos are high-speed vehicles that have more in common with motorcycles than with bicycles. E-motos may look like e-bikes. Some may even have pedals like a regular bicycle, but these are not e-bikes and are not defined in the Texas code. These are high-speed vehicles comparable to motorcycles. These high-speed e-motors need their own definition in the Texas code to separate them from the low-speed e-bikes.
So thank you very much for that. Let's go back to the slide that's fake e-bikes are everywhere. So one of the biggest problems with the next slide, right there. So one of the biggest problems with these is the risk that they pose to e-bikes, which are very successful. It's been a shot in the arm for the bike industry. It's gotten so many people out on bikes, especially in places like Texas, where we have so much heat, where people can ride a bike. Now people can keep up with their spouse that might have been a more avid rider, or they can get someplace not completely drenched in sweat. You still get exercise. In fact, studies have shown that you get more exercise with an electric bike, or as much as a regular bike over the course of a year, because you go out more often when they've done side-by-side studies. So electric bikes definitely have their place. Also, e-motos have their place. It's just not the same place. And because of the ambiguity in the law, because they have pedals on them, they're not legally e-bikes, but it's a little bit confusing. And so we've got a plan to address that. And but a lot of times, because they're called e-bikes, along with the three classes of low-speed electric bike, it's confusing to people and to parents that are badgered by their 12-year-olds to get them an e-bike. And so these have really, we think, become a real safety problem. But there's a risk that the baby will be thrown out with the bathwater, and that as they're conflated with, the other three classes, especially class 3, that the bikes are going to be banned, when that's not what we need to do. But we do need to regulate them. And so that's what we have proposed legislation last session, which we've improved on in the interim, so that I'll be talking about what we're going to be doing. But the goal will be to regulate them akin to motorcycles and mopeds. So if we go to the next slide, we've got the first bill would be e-moto regulation. It would define them by age, by whether or not it needs insurance and registration. The second bill would have to do with consumer protection, also called the Deceptive Trade Practices Act. So it would be a DTPA bill. That would mean that somebody can't call it an e-bike or an electric bike. We would actually give them a name, a definition in the transportation code, e-moto. And then and that require labeling as well. Then the third bill would be about e-bikes in state parks. And that's also so that we don't have these, you're out in the park and it's nice and quiet and you're riding your mountain bike up a single track, and then somebody zips past you on these dirt bikes. And we don't allow gas dirt bikes, even though there are places in parks for them specifically. And they're important that people have places to ride those. It's been ambiguous about all types of electric bikes in state parks. Currently, based on an old definition, electric bikes are still considered motorized vehicles. And so they're not technically allowed on any trails in state parks. Although in practice, they're allowed, as more than one park superintendent has told me, we manage user conflicts all the time. We're comfortable with this, but there does seem to be need to be differentiating between low-speed electric bikes and the e-motos. So on that, we've got the Bill 1, where we would have the e-moto regulation, as I kind of touched on, might require insurance, might require an M-class license for the higher powered ones, would have an age limit on it. Many of these things are to be negotiated in the course of a bill, but you've got kind of an idea of where our starting point would be. And then a registration and title. And then, but just like a moped or a, or a motorcycle. The next slide, Bill 2, the consumer protection. You can see an example of a sticker that might be sold with the bike. It might be in the materials. It might be on the box. It might be on something on the bike to identify for law enforcement, so they know what they're doing. Right now, the 3-class electric bikes are supposed to have a sticker that identifies them as class 1, class 2, or class 3. There have been some mail order, especially, that have sold bikes where it's easily consumer programmable, and so you can take your class 1 and turn it into a class 3 or even faster. And so that's not good. And so, but that was a loophole in our previous legislation that we might be able to patch this time around. But anyway, you wouldn't be able to call it an e-bike, and we think that's very promising. So class 3 again touches on the e-bikes in state parks, the 3 classes. That basically a class 1 could be allowed anywhere a bicycle can go, any mountain bike trail, absolutely anywhere. All the big companies, Specialized and Trek and all those, their electric mountain bikes are all made as class 1. The idea is that they're compatible on those trails. And then, and you have to pedal, remember, to even get any power out of it. So you don't even have a throttle at all.
Sir?
And then, yes.
I just have one quick question for you, if that's okay.
Sure.
My name's Lauren Morell. So on the previous slide, you said that the age limit in doing this for a 250cc would be 15 years old. Now, in passing that bill, say it passes like that, my question is, my son rides motocross, and 250cc on the motocross track, the youngest is 14. So if you pass the bill that said that they had to be 15 or older, is that then going to translate onto the motocross track? So the kids that are in that class that run those 250s at 14, are they going to be affected by that? Because I've seen some of these bills that have done for this kind of stuff and then affected them on motocross tracks and with all of that kind of stuff.
Actually, that's a great question. And I think it's going to be really important to have people that are engaged like yourself, as this stuff gets developed. Interesting about that particular slide is that electric bikes aren't measured at all as in CCs. That's engine displacement that's only for gas-powered vehicles. So that's the current law. So the current law so this is trying to equate electric bikes that are over 250 watts with the current law. And so I guess there's a current law about age 15, and that probably doesn't apply to off street. So, but
Okay,
we
yeah,
wouldn't actually be addressing that at all.
Okay, because there is also a class that is an electric dirt bike that is actually 7 and 8 class. So there's 7 and 8 year olds that are purely electric. There's no gas whatsoever on those bikes.
Right. So this doesn't really address that, and that's an interesting thing to see. How should that be addressed? I didn't know that there were 7-year-olds on electric bikes out there. So
Yes, sir. Yeah, so the way it works, it's about the size of a 50cc gas motorbike. So that's the size that it is, and 7 and 8-year-olds are the ones that race that class. That's the only class that right now is a fully electric bike that they race on there. But if I was to write legislation specifically for that, I would designate that the electric bikes need to be for on-street use and have just a designation that those bikes that are utilized on a closed-in track that are specifically geared with motocross and that kind of thing, that those should be excluded from having to have the license, having to have the registration, and all of those kinds of things for that intended use. Kind of like, you can ride an e-bike in a you can ride an e-bike on a trail, but when you get to the national park trails, then they have specific designation for that. They passed a law last legislative session about like liability and things like that, specifically for motocross tracks, and I'm sure that probably has a lot of the same verbiage that you may be able to use, like the same verbiage that they use for the insurance kind of thing.
It may already be addressed, but if you don't mind, you're so welcome to send me a note, so we can move through this pretty quick. I'll keep going, but if you don't mind sending me something about that, and we'll find out what's already in the Texas code. We want to try to avoid changing what's already working. So
Yes, sir.
the more we can keep it like we're trying to tie it back to the existing rules about motorcycles and mopeds, rather than make up brand new stuff that might have unintended consequences. And so, but sometimes the existing stuff needs to be changed. So we need to be aware of that too. But,
yes, sir.
But thank you for bringing that up. So so then, this will affect different agencies depending on how this is. We've talked a lot with people from Parks Department, including their government affairs folks, about the legislation last session. And so we are very closely aligned with the parks. We love parks. And so we want to be on the same page, but we also, we'll fight like the Alamo for the rights of bicyclists to be in places that are appropriate and safe for all users. We don't just care about the safety of bicyclists and pedestrians. We're also concerned about compatibility with equestrians and all the different kind of users. In fact, we produce a trails conference for every kind of trail user, including, canoes, equestrians, hikers, runners. And but the sport of off-road racing is something that's really not been in our consciousness. So appreciate you bringing that up to me. So the sessions begins in January, runs through May, and it sounds like there might be some more questions. And why don't we just move right on to questions? And anybody curious about any of this, seeing any problems, any particular concerns that you all have?
I have a question, Katie Hill from Salado. Are there already legislators at the House of Reps or the Senate that you're working with on these bills?
We are. We're going to be looking for more, and we're also particularly interested in anybody that's on any of these key committees, and particularly Republicans, because they're the majority. So it's really helpful when we can get Republicans on our bills. So if you happen to know of a rep or senator, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. We have Brad Buckley and Senator Pete Flores in our district, and I think they would both be amenable to hearing more about this. Did you present in 2025 and it didn't pass? What happened there?
So far, it's amazingly big challenge to get bills passed anytime in the Texas legislature. 6,000 bills are introduced and maybe 800 pass or something like that. But and we pass a bill almost every session. But this time, the Senate waited to hear our bills because they wanted it to be heard in the House Transportation Committee first. We had all three of these ideas bundled into one bill. And so we actually finally got all the votes, 100% of the votes on transportation. But then the committee chairman forgot that he had that card in his pocket with all those signatures on it, and then didn't bring it up for a vote. And it was the very last day. So we missed our chance. But we did have a chance to vet it through just the transportation committee. And another way the legislature works is they're so busy with all those bills. They don't want to hear about 6,000 bills. They don't want to hear about the bill that's coming before their committee. And then they get up to speed very quickly, and their staff does it and then briefs them. Senator Flores's staff knows what he thinks. They look through it and they're going to tell him, sir, you like this. Here's some bullet points. This is why you like it. He doesn't really have to dig through everything because there's so many, but they don't want to hear about it until it's time. So if they're on transportation, that's when they want to hear it, when the bill's been assigned a hearing. And then they want to hear it if they're on calendars, if it's on the floor, then we have to everybody really quick. And so so these will be 3 different pathways, 3 different 3 different committees. And so if your reps happen to be on one of those key committees, then it's like a bingo, it's super helpful. But
You're going to be
but
really
it's
busy in
also be helpful to
January.
get co-authors. Pardon?
I said you're going to be really busy come January.
Well, it's incredibly busy. Every bill takes about 200 contacts. So 3 bills, 600 contacts. So we not only do we have staff, but we also bring volunteers out. We're looking for help, and we coach people on how to do it. And citizen lobbyists are the best because people come across as sincere and they mean it and they understand it in their own lives, and it's very compelling, especially for your own reps. We had people come in from Midland to talk to the committee chair of transportation. They were from his district. That was worth 100 people from everywhere else in the state, those 2 people. So it can make a really big difference, the right constituents at the right time. So if you have an interest in this, please, you can go also and get your name on the petition it'll be here on the end, right here on the slide, e-bikes and parks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Sorry, if I'm taking too long, and cut me off whenever it's time.
Action item, but if you'd like to send a template for a letter for us to consider at the next meeting, we'd have it done in time for your session.
Are you suggesting I send a template for a letter?
Yeah, just so we have the right, spirit reflected in the letter.
Well, part of what I was saying about targeting, it kind of goes into a little bit of an empty hole if we try to send a letter to somebody before there's legislation, before it has a number, before the language has been finalized. But if y'all are interested and want to keep up with it, you can go to this petition and or get on our email list, and then that way we'll be able to keep you informed as we go. And then this is going to transportation. Is this one of your members? But we don't have any generic letters that we're asking anybody to do right now.
Okay, that's just in your slide deck. It says letters of support from.
Well, yes, and so at the right time with committees, that would be very compelling. It's just we don't need those letters yet.
Right, that's not needed.
For example, once we have, also it would be appropriate timing, for example, is when the legislative session gets near, any bills that are relevant, maybe you all invite me back and I'll say, these are bills that are relevant for your bike pedestrian committee. And then you all have a chance to look at those. You decide whether or not it's appropriate for you all to do any letters of support of any of them, including the e-bike legislation. And then you could send a letter of support at that time.
Okay, I understand. Okay, I understand that, and I really appreciate you breaking that down for us to understand what the issue is. I know I've tried to do a bike tour in Austin and had an e-assist on there, and I was like, I'm gonna try not to use it. I'm gonna be tough. There's no way I would have got through that tour without a little pedal assist, and so, and yeah, I like that you're trying to balance this with traditional users. on mute right now or something wrong with your sound. He's talking, but I don't hear now.
Yeah, and his microphone isn't picking him up.
There's something wrong with your microphone. Robin. Yeah, we still can't hear you. But we definitely are going to put you back on the schedule to see how we can be more involved.
Anita,
Yes.
hey, this is Lauren again. Can you keep me in the loop on this? Because Buckley, I think, was the one that actually passed the last motocross bill. And so he would definitely be a good one. But can you please keep me informed on this? Because it's definitely something near and dear to me and to the youth aspect of me being on the transportation. And just, you know, all of these bikes that he's talking about are ones that the motocross community utilizes on and off the track. So if there's anything that I can do as far as like maybe sharing some of the insight from my knowledge on that, please keep me informed and I can come meet with you separately, just us if I need to.
All right, I will, I'll do my best to keep everybody informed and engaged through our ATAC committee. Everybody will receive the same information, that way you can move forward as you feel best suited for your personal.
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Hello.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, Robin, we're going to move on to the next presentation, but we're going to send your information out to everyone. We appreciate your time. We're going to stay connected and see how everything moves forward, okay?
One final test. Did you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can't hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
I think you can hear us.
Yeah, he can't hear us now.
Thank you.
Our next presentation is from James Grant with the City of Belton. He's the Director of Parks and Recreation with the City of Belton, and they just approved a 2026 to 2036 Belton Parks Recreation Trails and Open Space Master Plan. I'm super excited to be here. What do you have for us today, sir? So take it away.
Thank you very much. Always excited about Belton Parks and Rec. Talking in your ear.
If you stand on this side, you must stand a little further back. Yeah.
You're good. Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, most of us in this room have been through a park or some sort of master plan. It's obviously a community-driven plan that gives us direction for the next 10 years. For this particular plan, what we have done in the Parks and Rec Department is that it identifies our current park system, what we already have, and how we're meeting the comparison with similar cities, national average, that trends across the country. Also gives us a good understanding of our current and future recreational needs. And most importantly, it gives us the ability to educate city council, our parks board, and those that make the decisions in our city for budgeting purposes. So that's the huge part about it. And what I like most about this plan is realistic recommendation, implementation schedule, and I'll go into detail in the future. We started this, the actual plan kicked off in October, but we started this way back early in 25, first of the year, trying to figure out who's going to do our plan, which was NHS Planning and Design. They're out of Dallas, out of Dallas and Tyler, Texas. Really happy with what they've done. I like that group. It's a younger company, but they are Parks and Rec professionals. So when you're doing a Parks and Rec master plan, it's good to have Parks and Rec professionals do it. They understand what the needs of our community. They understand the needs of what the city needs to make things happen. They also understand what the community comes up with that. That's ridiculous, so we can't do that. So they also are very, very helpful. So I'm very excited about using them. Went through the entire process of inventory, public engagement, and the needs and priorities, the recommendations. We also did a feasibility study. We knew early on that our community wants the Belton to have an indoor recreation center. It's very, very expensive endeavor. So our city council asked us to do feasibility study. We know that's what our community wants, but what's it going to take to do it? What is it exactly that they're looking for? So we did that study as part of this master plan. And then they went through all the process and it got adopted in June 6th, just recently, just a couple months. Public engagement, we went really strong on that public engagement. We want to know exactly what our community is. Very aggressive approach compared to our last 10-year plan. Really aggressive. And so we had well over 2,000 community members engaged in it. With 3 months of this process to do that, we had 6 different public events and meetings. We had 25 different communities outside of Belton that participated. Yes, ma'am.
James, I'm curious, did y'all use a platform or a consultant to help y'all with your public engagement?
Yes, MHS Plan and Design did all that for us.
They did all your public engagement?
They created our survey. They set up, they were at our public engagement meeting. The only thing they didn't do is some of our events that we set up to push the survey, they were not those. We didn't have it. MHS Plan and Design did all of that. Platform they used is what we did. Then we had 23 different community organizations were involved in it. And this particular survey for Belton, 893 surveys is quite a lot. The last plan we had 400 surveys, so we more than doubled. This particular group of surveys was more than doubled. So a lot of different things, and it identifies our strengths and community services. This is preliminary results from the survey, and kind of see shade is you'll see shade coming at number 1 quite a bit through this. Some of the neat things about the plan was the social characteristics, you know, our population and where we'll be in 10 years. That's very important when you're trying to plan what the trends are right now, but what will they be in based on our population in 10 years. So that's important. It's also interesting to note here, the average age of Texas, Bell County is 31, Texas is 54. And in Belton, it's 26. The average age is actually, it's a very young population. A lot of that has to do probably with UMHB, but what it tells us is that our community wants a lot of activity. They're very engaged, and lots of young families starting. So that's what that means. That was a surprise. This is an interesting chart. This right here is all the different parks within the city. You'll see the majority of our parks are north of I-14, I-35, which is different populations. But this right here has got an enormous amount of information. I'll talk a little bit about it, but very quickly, the green, the white, and the kind of pinkish color. The green is telling us where we are exceeding the trends. We're going way above and beyond what the national trends are. That's what the green is. Number of playgrounds, and so forth. The white is telling us when we're actually meeting the trend. We're right on par. And the pinkish color is telling us where we are behind in the trends, which is basically tennis courts and swimming pool. That's what City of Belton does not have any. We don't have any tennis courts at all. And we don't have a swimming pool. And what they're saying, if this, all this other information is, this is the percentage of those cities that are 20,000 to 50,000 in population. This is how many of those are actually meeting that trend. You can see only 49% of those actually have a swimming pool. So we're in good company there of not having a swimming pool. That's what we should do. So it's basically at about 27,000, which is what Belton's population is currently. We should be looking at probably putting in a swimming pool. It's ma'am.
I'm sorry, I'm just curious, pickleball courts versus tennis courts, was there an age difference in the people that wanted those? Did you look at that?
Didn't necessarily know, as we all know, pickleball is a broad spectrum of users using that, and probably the majority of them are, I think, kind of the upper age, the senior level, which I think biggest what we heard was they wanted an indoor pickleball course, not outdoor or shaded pickleball courses. That's really what we heard. And mostly it's because the seniors don't get out there and do pickleball, it's way too hot. The ones that are actually out there in the middle of the day are the 26-year-olds that are, the heat's not killed them. So that's what this chart tells you. I won't spend too much time on that because. So the results were, this is interesting. This is all from the survey, and this is basically, we want to know where you're at. Because Belton is unique in where 3/4 of the people that actually come to Belton and use our parks or part of our associations are not within the city limits of Belton. So we're trying to pay for 3/4 of what's not actually being, taxpayers are not actually doing it. So this is interesting. So we really need to know, we want to make sure that we were hearing from our residents. So 78% of the people that took our survey were actually residents. So what we did this question on purpose, and so we broke it up into quadrants, and then this one down here where it said 22% were outside of the city limits that you took our survey. So this is important to know. Basically, how often are the citizens using our parks, and 60% of them use them on a monthly to weekly basis, and which is our most popular park, which is Heritage Park, which is probably not surprising to anyone. It wasn't to us, but this is, and I want to point this out because this is interesting. What I want to know is why they're not coming to our parks. What is it that keeps you from coming to our parks? And so this was a good question. And lack of shade, as you can see, comes up in there. Lack of restrooms, so those are very important to our community. We want to start working. We got lots of playgrounds. We're 13 above the national trends in playgrounds. They're not coming because most of them's not shaded.
Another question, when you said you said obviously your parks are kind of north of I-35, but there's a lot of growth coming south.
That is very much so.
Did y'all take that into
That
consideration?
absolutely is pointed out.
Okay.
The majority of people that took our survey were that green section right here. That was the vast majority of the people that took our survey. That's where most of our residents live. That's where most people took it. There was very little, as you can see down here in the south, that actually took our survey. This growth down here is exploding. Within the next 10 years, we will definitely see movement that direction.
And when y'all realized that the majority of the people using the parks were coming from out of town, did you take into consideration trail tourism and how the economy is impacted by that?
Not really. That was nothing surprising to us. Our associations, the majority of our people are coming from West Temple, which is still a Belton school district, but it's West Temple. That's where the majority of the people that are coming to our park are coming from that area right up in here, just north of the legal group.
And they weren't included in the survey?
They were welcome to take part in the survey. They're a part of our associations, so some of them did, but only 22%. So basically what we were focusing on, who's going to pay for this? And it's the people who live in the city limits. And that's the one where we're focusing. Yeah. We'll go back one right here. We also asked as part of the survey, okay, right here, we asked in the survey that we know you want an indoor rec center. We know we probably want a swimming pool. Are you willing to actually pay for it? So we asked the question, how important is this? So 92% said that the parks are well worth the taxpayer money, and 91% think existing parks should be improved. But this one right here, 84% was for a bond for park acquisition and improvements. And we all realize that clicking a button on a survey to say, yeah, I'll pay for it is much different than going to the ballot box. We all know that that's different. But it's a good idea that people really want this, and it's some would support one. That, city of Belton, that's the only way we can get into the is by going through one, too, and then that one, budgeting process, so their overall recommendations is, as expected, they developed some indoor recreation. As you'll see, we've got some possibilities to do some indoor rec without doing the full-on rec center coming. But that is something that is still on that. They want us to improve our existing parks. They don't want us to go ahead and put all these more new playgrounds in. They want us to make sure we take care of what we already have. So that's a very important observation. And of course, they want to improve the shade, accessible programming. This is something that surprised me just a little bit. We do a lot of programming, but not very much of it's successful. it's not geared towards somebody with a disability. We haven't really focused on that. So it's something we need to look into. And noticed this, but never really thought much about it. But our community would like to see a little art in our parks. We don't have much artwork, that kind of sculpture, things of that. We don't have much of that anymore, so they'd like to see that. This is a snapshot of the last 10-year plan and where we're at. You'll see the walking and hiking trails has always been number one. This plan, the last 10-year plan, so the last 20 years, it's been number one. This is the first year it actually dropped down one. That's very insightful, but mainly because we focused on trails for the last 20 years. We put in a lot of trails throughout the city of Belton, and so it's obviously still very important, but it looks like we're making some headway, is what it looks like. And so playgrounds is up there, and that we talked about that. That is more along the lines of updating what we have, not so much putting in new. They want some shaded where playgrounds, that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where that was, and you can see indoor rec center is one. That's a snapshot of the last 10-year plan and where we're at now. This is the part of the plan that I am most excited about. This is where I do. This right here goes through a recommended implementation. So it goes from 2026 all the way to 2035. Goes all the way to the next 10 years. It's a total of about $12 million worth of improvements and additions and things of that nature to our community. But this just gives us a roadmap, Joe and myself, where we're headed and what we need to be budgeting for next budget cycle. So this is very, very helpful. And in this plan identifies 5 different areas for us to go after a Texas park and walk grade. So there's 5 different opportunities for us. This is a good opportunity to go after that grade. And then there's one opportunity here, an additional one, a 6th one for us to go after an indoor rec grant. It's a different grant for Texas park. But it's identified 6 different opportunities to go after grant for the next 10 years. The last 10-year plan, we went after it twice, and we got it twice. The Texas park lawn grants, $750,000. That's the outdoor recreation grant. Standpipe and phase 1 of Heritage Park, when we bought the old Leon Valley Golf Course or part of it, and we expanded. So that was, the next slide is basically a blow up of this section right here. And this right here, 2026, this is basically where we're at. This right here, which is why your chair just had to excuse herself, is that we've applied for that Texas Parks and Wildlife grant. So that we've already submitted, that was due 2 weeks ago. So that's already been submitted. That's for phase 2 of Heritage Park, which is these items right here. The TERS money, tax increment reinvestment zone, that set aside $2 million several years ago for us to implement phase 2. Phase 1, if you remember correctly, happened right during COVID. So the $5 million we had to build that park only got half of it because prices went crazy. And so we only got half of the park built. But we're working on phase 2 right now and implement that section. This one right here is Miller Heights Public Safety Center Park. It's not called that. That's not a park. That is it's a BISD elementary school that the city purchased over on the south side of town. We got this playground or this school building that we have put our public safety in, police and our fire and our parks and rec and our library to be utilizing this building. So there's opportunities for us to actually start doing indoor recreation in that building and then the gymnasium there right now, even before we've been building indoor rec. So there was some money set aside for us to do that outside. As you know, all school buildings has a playground outside, so we have to, it's outdated, we have to upgrade it. So we're spending some money this year to upgrade it, get that playground open so we can take the fences down, we can invite the community, the school districts on this. But it's,
On that, consider opportunities for Nolan Creek hiking bike trail connectivity. Are any of those on the border of the city of Belton that would actually connect to other communities, or is that all inside the city of Belton?
This isn't within inside the city limits. The rails to trails that's coming is actually our trips to that one. Obviously, you haven't done that yet because by I-35 expansion and this will mess everything up. When you get it done, that's when that will come through Killeen-Temple to Georgetown. We will definitely connect to that, and that's through this whole process that we're meant to do is making sure we have that connectivity. We can actually go through the actual first textile plan didn't give us very many egress and ingress to the city, but so the city and communities just want to text on it. We're not going to dry out Delta. We got to make sure we can have this connectivity. So that will be that, and we will have that connectivity. We can connect it. That's what that one gives us. What I want you to see here is this grant that we just applied for. This is phase one of Heritage Park. Anyhow, that's Heritage Park phase 2. Number of different things that we're asking, that we want to do with that. This little white right here is a 1 mile circuit loop trail. That was part of phase 1. It didn't get approved, phase 1 because of the cost. Phase 1 got the street in, you got this parking lot, this restroom concession right here, you got this field building, another restroom here. Basically, phase 1 just put the infrastructure in for park. Phase 2 is going to get some of the amenities in, so we're going to work with phase 2 on that. I wanted to talk about that 1 mile circuit loop trail. This particular map, so here, is this, that's that red trail right there. That's that 1 mile circuit. That's a full mile loop around that. Here. This is all of our soccer fields right here. The design was, and the thought was, that people would want to use that when their kids are out there to practice or playing. Mom, dad's gonna want to walk the trail. We're gonna get that's what we want. That's not at all what our community wants. So that we found that out because it didn't get in. That road right there, that's where everybody walks. They don't want to walk on no trail. They want to walk on that road. So that is a huge safety concern. We don't want to be one of your statistics, so we want to fix this. So what we want to do in this part of phase 2 is take this connector trail and add this blue line right here. The road is the white line that's behind that. We want to put a connector trail, which is 13th Avenue coming over to Old Waco Road. Comes across here and connects to 24th, which if they get all the way out, it connects to Main Street up near Walmart and HB. But that connecting trail right there, we want to get people off the road. Even though that road we put in, we purposely made it meander through the park because we put a nice leisurely country drive. That's not all what it is. They think it's the Minneapolis 500 up there and then we drive too fast. We got to get our pedestrians off the road. So we want to do that first. This little call out right here is basically, I suggested that we take that blue line and move the trail on this side and run it along this part of that red line so that we have at least a third of that loop trail finished when you get this trail done. So we can come back and add this later if the community decides they want to do that. So now that's what that's calling it. That's just part of that trail will also be a lighted trail. There'll be a very large family pavilion, a large playground put up in this area that'll look similar to that. We, of course, the rendering that Hubby, landscape and design, actually drew stuff up for us. But this is the old cart barn that's part of the old Leon Valley Golf Course. We are repurposing the cart barn and putting a very large family pavilion, which would be the largest one we built. We are putting a rain catchment system in so we can do some landscaping and irrigation around this pavilion. We did tell them that we don't need a fireplace, not Texas. So we would take that out and said, in Texas, we need a barbecue. So, yeah, that's what's going on. The Pickering Grove, all these trees right here are all pecan trees down in this, the old par 3 of the golf course. Had all these pecan trees down there. So we are going to make this an outdoor venue with the pavilion in this bottom section right here. So that's the idea that this other trail or this athletic field was already put in. We put that in after the phase 1. But this event venue is going to look similar to that. It's right down there along the Leon River is where the fishing dock is at, where kayak entry is at. It's all this neat stuff there. We've had several events down there already. Very popular place, especially in the summertime, because as you can see, it's well shaded down there right along the river. The problem is this last event we had a little issue with mosquitoes, so that was the issue there. But that's this area right in here. Some other things that we want to try to do with part of that grant is disc golf improvements. If you're not familiar with that, when we did that phase 1, we put in a disc golf course that is now 3 disc golf courses of the beginner level and an intermediate level and more skilled level golf courses. There's 3 18-hole disc golf courses in that area. We also want to work on maybe some dog park improvements, practice fields. We've added this one, but there's other areas up here we can get some practice fields in, maybe some sports lighting. It all depends on how that money holds out, whether or not we get the actual grant. So we won't know till early next year whether we get the grant. if you want to go and look at this, this is hundreds some pages of documents, and you can go to our city website right there. You just click on Parks and Rec, click on Park, down in this corner right here, it'll take you right to this master plan. Master plan, we start off on this page, as you scroll through that, you'll come to the index. Right in here, it's interactive, so if you look at something that's interesting, you just click on that right there, it'll take you directly to that spot in the plan. You don't have to read the entire thing. So it'll take you to these surveys, the findings of the survey, take you to the public engagement, where we had all the different engagement. These are all the different groups we spoke to one-on-one or as a group to engage in. What do you need? What does our community needs? We're very, push that very heavily into that. And that brings me to the end of the presentation. If you guys have any questions. I do have a slide following this about our feasibility study, but it's also in the plan if you want to get that. I don't want to take too much time. So, and this is, of course, who I am. If you want to send me an email.
I just wanted to comment about the shade because I received a public comment. I don't know if y'all were able to look at our public comment that was from the city of Crawford's Cove about shade. And I was just astounded by the number of, they posted this in topics forum.
Okay.
And it just escalated. It went wild down there. And it seems like nobody knows the needs of our community in shade. And I'm, of course, we're always big proponents of shade, but you know, there's always that funding constraint. So I'm just surprised that that was the number one concern for your respondents.
A couple different reasons. Well, we've done a lot of playgrounds. We purposely didn't put shade because we wanted to put a bigger or nicer playground. We didn't put in shade. You take a third of the playground costs to put shade into it. So we, over the last 10 years, that's where we've been focusing. That's been the wrong focus. It really has, because our community wants shade. So we definitely got to maybe downsize the playground a bit so we get so definitely going in that direction. Also, it might have something to do with the timing that they actually did the survey. Was it hot when they actually did the survey? Which it was September. Started the survey. September, October, it was October. Any other questions?
That's actually, I wanted to ask a question kind of related to the shade. Those playgrounds, when you're like renovating existing ones or putting new ones in, is that, I saw you guys shade as your third priority, but is that like one of the top focuses? It's like putting a canopy in or something like that?
When the playground goes in for this, it has to have shade.
Yeah.
That's what our community wants. We're going to have shade. So we will focus on that now.
I'll say just as a parent, I don't even think it's so much for like just, you know, the heat. I think as far as like direct skin, I think it's more of like the slides are so hot, like my kid can't slide down, even the swings, like touching the handles, like you can't even go and access the playground because it is so hot. So, I mean, yeah, of course, there's a movement for swimwear and things that are long sleeves and more hats these days as far as skin protection, but I think it's more as just like touching the physical structures. Yeah.
Thankfully, we don't have the metal slides in. They will. And well, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Great information.
And the agenda looks like it tapered off from there, but I think that we're also serving to help cyclists, or no, the safety.
Yes.
Oh, but it's still serving help cyclists, right?
Yes.
Sean, okay.
Sean, I'm calling him Teresa. Sean is a 15-year-old youth cyclist that was impacted by a close friend that was struck, seriously injured on a cyclist. And from that, it compelled him to do something. And so what he's going to do is he's going to share what he actually did. If you want to stand on that side. Oh, I can do it, sir. Okay. If you want to stand on that side, that's where James stood.
You got this.
Hi, I'm Sean. I'm part of Serving to Help Cyclists. Yeah. Thanks.
Bring it up.
I'm gonna do the joke. Okay. I'm Sean, and I try to organize a bike race, but everyone kept backpedaling their commitment. I'm Sean, part of Serving to Help Cyclists. I wanted to help out. I'm just part of HOT, which is the one on the left, the green, and Elevation, which is also my other team for Timbra, which is the one on the right. They are both mountain bike and race teams. That's where I met Walker and Colton, who are one of the two big impacts for our business. Next. Walker is a racing cyclist. The left side is where he was after the incident. The right side is him actually not like maybe the 3 months after he's able to walk and everything, which is crazy. So basically what happened, he was preparing for a race, he was riding, all of a sudden he gets struck from behind, went flying 78 miles per hour. His friend couldn't find him. Luckily, there were two nurses that were driving by who were able to stop and be able to give CPR and everything, make sure he was alive. If it wasn't for them, he probably wouldn't be here, which I'm very thankful he's here. He had injuries to his head, brain bleed, fracture, multiple spinal fracture, and yeah, he's able to now go onto the smart trainer and be able to, the doctor said he's able to do stuff that he thinks he can do. One thing I will say is that, wait, hold on. Oh yeah, when we were learning about the bike safety classes, we went out all the way down to Bike Mart, which is a good place where they did a safety class. When we were there after the thing, we met the Richardson Coalition, which this month we are going to attend the state legislation for the Richardson Coalition. Next. This is Colton. We found out that he was diagnosed with leukemia on the same day after the accident. He is currently going the treatment for which is chemotherapy for the leukemia. He was a good racer. He was there. He'd show up and make sure he raced. I don't think I've ever seen him quit like during a ride or anything, which is really cool. And glad he was able to race. Next. This is the fundraiser we did, the Ride for Life. Sorry, you can't see the ride. But we partnered with the Button Lions Club, who helped us promote Walker and Colton's tragic accident. We raised up $6,780 in a month and a half for them. And there was only 5 kids who was me, Nate, Gavin, and Nate's little brother. We each rode 55 miles or more. Next.
When you raise that money, did you give them each individual checks? How did that work?
There was a GoFundMe, and you also had donations where we would give it to the coach who was controlling all that. I don't know too much about that.
Yeah, what we actually did, because this was before we thought about any of that, we talked to the Lions Club, got approval from them to do that. But they didn't want to handle the money, and they said, come ride with us, doing the thing, we're not gonna charge you anything, y'all handle the money. I wasn't gonna handle the money alone, so we got another nonprofit who was able to handle the money appropriately and legally, so they were able to do it the right way.
Thank you for doing that. Fundraising is a real difficult market, so congratulations. That's a huge amount, and I know it impacted their lives.
Yes, it did. This is the Ride of Silence. This is where I met Anita. Thanks for Anita sorry. We were able to start learning about safety classes. You were the one that told us about starting safety classes, which was a great idea. You told us to go to, I think, the museum where they do the other things there for like the what's it called? Yes, the smart
Oh,
museum.
yes.
You told us about the smart museum,
Yes.
which was a good idea.
So
Yeah.
we were actually.
Yes. But yeah, that's where we met Anita. That's how we learned about this. We are hoping that we are able to do more safety classes now that we got the business, and we're hoping that we can hopefully go to schools. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
The backpack giveaway. I was able to teach two kids, a 7-year-old who was very little, didn't know too much about it, or like safety and everything, and the other kid who was able to also learn some things like riding on the right side of the road, e-bikes, which is also what I think Robin's doing. So that's a good thing that they're doing. We were also able to do other things. Hopefully, I was able to help the backpack giveaway by helping set up the backpacks, helping set up, and that was really it for the backpack giveaway.
How many backpacks did y'all give away?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I think they gave her out about 150 that day, and then the pastor took the rest of them, and he said he knew that there were a lot more people. We were going to tell them next week, and I told him to say something told him.
Congratulations.
These are our future plans. We are hoping to do a monthly ride after September 10th, 12th.
September 12th is when we're hoping.
When we're hoping to start, and then after that, we'll start doing monthly rides for kids, so they're able to ride. We're also trying to do a father-son ride, which is the Military Medical Appreciation Day ride. The Military Medical Appreciation Day ride is for my dad, who was a medical service officer on 9/11. My dad was in Division Readiness Brigade. In 2010, he deployed to Iraq, where he was a division medical planner while the U.S. was withdrawing out of Iraq. While he was at Camp Major. At Fort St. Houston, he completed Officer Basic course, Captain Career course, Medical Planner course, and Officer Patient Administration course. We would like to honor one military medical honoree for every mile we ride. The other plan we have is the Veteran Gold Star ride, where we're hoping to help veterans who are, who are in mental and physical health, right? And also helping, what was I going to say for the Gold Stars?
And then appreciation and tribute to them.
Oh yeah, and an appreciation and tribute to them as well. We are going to do safety classes for, like I said, schools hopefully, and maybe other areas, so we can get it out there so they can learn and hopefully be more safe. So the same thing that Walker doesn't happen again as much. We are also trying to, we're hoping to work with One Stop to provide bike safety equipment and for the homeless, and also maybe classes if we can for them.
So real quick on One Stop, that's a contact I made a few years ago. They've been trying to get bikes, but they have nowhere to store them. That's a lot to ask for us to do a lot of things in Waco, but one thing that they do need is they want to get the bikes for the homeless, where they can go ahead and give them a way to commute back and forth to places that they need. The locks and helmets are the big things that we can offer to them. That's going to help them promote what they're trying to do and keep a more safe environment for the homeless and stuff up there in Waco.
Here's my favorite part is the cross country ride where we're doing from Atlantic to the Pacific in 6 to 8 years. We're hoping that we can do a ride that was my dad's dad, where he started his military and where he just visited places along the way all the way to the. So that's my favorite part, at least hopefully in 6 to 8 years doing cross country ride, which is around 2,000, maybe more, 3,000, 2,000 miles. which will take, I think you said 61 days? About 61, yeah, about 2 months. Yeah. This is our mission statement. We are serving help cyclists. It is dedicated to safer roads, firm communities' lives. We promote bike awareness, support cyclists facing crises, illnesses, or honor veterans and Gold Star families through meaningful engagements and cycling programs. Next. I don't have a thing for it. Yes, that's my dad. He's the founder of the company because I'm not old enough. I'm 15. That's me in the corner. I think the shade was there, but. We didn't. We didn't even get on his bike afterwards to put it up and everything. No, but we are trying to hopefully get out there. We are new. We did start, I think, about 3 months ago. We are a nonprofit. We got our 501(c) about a month ago.
About a week ago.
Oh, about a week ago. My bad.
Congratulations.
And so I was very excited. I came running from my room, running, looked at it, slid on the floor just to look at it.
So tell us about the t-shirt we're wearing.
So the t-shirt, we have two separate ones. One, I have a green one, which is our new, not our new, but like our new back part. If you like right there, and then you have like some like that. So they're 2 different t-shirts. This is our logo, which was a struggle trying to find a name and everything just for this logo. I think that took us how many months? It took us like a month just to find one logo. Yeah, it was to find one logo. But that's serving to help cyclists. That's us. And that's our contact info. That's where you can contact us. I can't put my phone number on there because, but that's our email. And that's our number. I do want to thank Anita for also giving the information, helping us basically start the business as well. Because if it wasn't for you giving us safety class information, I don't think we'd have probably went into more detail about all this stuff. So thank you for that. Thank you for also letting us come out here and be able to do this presentation. That was really helpful towards our business.
You guys live in
No, we live in Nolanville.
But we do have a long ways back, because I do have a health insurance business as well. And a lot of my business has been done in Belton, and then my wife did teach in Belton for several years too. So
Also, what we
she
did.
definitely have a big relationship with Belton already, so.
That's it.
It's great involvement with Belton Lions too, that was doing tie-in. There's a grant available right now. It's open for applications called the Co-op grant from TPWD, and it would help fund that initiative with the homeless and then maybe some other traffic safety initiatives that you want to do.
And you still available to do consults for your grants? I know that was last semester, last quarter.
So the local park grants closed right now, we're exploring, but there's a couple other grants, choose them for the safer. But this one, is not, I don't administer the one that's going on right now, but you can, I can get you the point of contact so you can get a consult with them.
Yeah, it's admirable what you're doing. I love your long-term goals with this. Do want to comment, one thing I did find out is that Walmart and their whole initiative to try to give back to their community, each Walmart store has their own their own grants that they give out, but they're terrible at promoting them. So if you wanted to have some grant money, that's an easy source to get assistance from.
That's right.
I'm tracking that a little bit. I've been a little overwhelmed with the last 2 months so far. So there's a lot of things on my radar that I haven't gotten to. But we're definitely working hard to get to where we need to get.
Yeah. Cool. Good stuff.
Thank you so very much, Sean.
So we're going to discuss upcoming community activities. James, take it away.
I'm gonna keep this kind of brief, so you guys know prepared to be. With community activities, we all know they're important to the area. You know, we have a few coming up throughout the KTMPO region, including some walking and running events, cycling events, outdoor expos, other recreational programs, and they promote healthy lifestyles and they strengthen communities. They showcase the areas, you know, we're talking about the importance of parks here. There's a lot of great parks in the region, and this is a great way to put focus on them because a lot of these events happen at these parks. These events encourage active transportation, and they support local organizations and charitable causes, attract visitors, and contribute to tourism, local economic activity, generating spending at restaurants, hotels, retail businesses, and other community destinations. Supporting these activities advances shared regional goals related to health, wellness, recreation, economic development, community engagement, and all this while increasing awareness and the use of transportation and recreation assets across the KTMPO region. One of the upcoming events that we have in October is in Escajeda. We've got the October ride. Just see about
Katie, do you want to add anything to that?
I don't think so. It's like our 6th or 7th year doing it, and we're really fortunate to be partnered with the volunteer fire department because they provide such essential support. Gary, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, it's a great event. That's about it. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, guys. I'm a little but Katie's doing a great job, and I think she's going to be, that thing's going to get bigger and bigger every year. And then the next one that you guys are going to talk about, I'm really excited about, so.
Yeah, Barrel Brewing will be hosting the Outdoor Expo on September 12th in Salado. Barrel Brewing has they've been pretty helpful with a lot of community engagement activities, even with the hop. They've given us gift cards to give to the public to promote regional transportation. Yeah, Salado's just a happening area, right? It's a lot going on there. They have awesome outdoor culture, outdoor sculptural burn that I love to visit. They have that awesome wine festival they have 4 times a year. So there's a lot happening in the area.
Sean has a question.
I do, for the Oktoberfest, is that on gravel, road?
I think Katie would be better equipped to answer that one.
I couldn't hear the question.
Does the ride, is it on gravel or road?
It's on roads.
Okay, just curious. I would like that and go on gravel.
And there's different segments, right, Katie?
Right, there are like 15, 30, and 30 mile and 100-kilometer rides. Some of the roads, aren't the best. So we have volunteers that go out and kind of try to sweep the gravel off. But yeah, it's all road cycling.
In addition to the cycling, we have other events too. In addition to those 2 events, we've also got the upcoming Steps to Stability in August 29th. The Flamingo 5K is coming September 12th. Nolanville's having their Foxtrot 5K in September 26th. And then the October 10th is the MK 5K. And the October 17th is the Rotary Monster Dash 5K.
Hey, James, and I got one more for you. I'm catching up track now. On October 3rd at the Heritage Park is the Captain D Dash for Fight.
Okay.
To the Boat Lions Club.
Okay. What is it?
The Captain D Dash for Fight.
That was October 3rd at Heritage Park.
Correct.
All right, thank you for that. And the next item is regarding local park grants. And so the local park grants closed on August 3rd, and happy to report there was multiple applications in this region. So good things to come. There was opportunities for indoor and outdoor grants, and so best of luck to everyone put in an application. There are still a couple of open opportunities that are for like select areas. The first one is a RARI grant, which involves Fort Hood primarily. So I was gonna request that you guys consider becoming Centennial Landscape, so to broaden the eligibility area for this region. Right now, the only thing listed are opportunity zones, and it's just like small select area in Gatesville and then a couple over by Maxdale Road. So being a Centennial Landscape would provide everybody in this room the opportunity at a grant that's like a $3 million ceiling. The match can also come from Fort Hood installation REPI funds, in case you guys are looking for somewhere to spend those dollars. The other opportunity is the Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership. You have to be in an urbanized area. Most of the people in this room are in an urbanized area, so you would qualify for that grant. It has a $15 million ceiling. And that is going to be open until October 1st, and then it'll be available every year at about the same time. And then I mentioned the co-op grant. I don't have a lot of involvement in that one, but that can be a nonprofit as well as government entity that's programming. And normally, like, it's synced with something to do with state parks or some type of environmental education. If you'd like more information on that, you know, feel free to email me.
And I can send out Kara's information. Kara, for y'all know, Kara does work for the Texas Parks and Wildlife. And so we're very blessed to have her wealth of funding. Information, not funding stream, but funding information.
Our next item is public comment. So does anyone have any public comments they would like to make? I think we've commented on a lot of topics today, and I'm really happy with the direction of the meeting. And the only thing I'd like to comment on is we can have information on when we can like petition for a regional trail study. Like, I think that would be a good next objective, is to get some of the dollar dedicated to a professional study.
And I think that Kim, you want to speak to it a little bit on that, on the fly, yes.
I'm sorry, I should email it first.
Yes, the way that we do that is it's kind of our budget plan document. It's called a Unified Planning Work Program, but it's more of it's how we plan to spend our money. So if we were to do, for instance, a study of that nature, that could either come through planning dollars that are outlined in that plan, unless the MPO or SITCOG does more of like an SS4A approach through a discretionary program. So there's multiple ways to get creative with how we do that. I think it would just be a recommendation, like you mentioned, from the ATAC of how they would like to proceed in that direction. And then us understanding what our budget constraints are if we were to do it through the UPWP, what funds we have available, what other priorities that we have planning wise that we would have to compete with. We have things that we have to do, and then we have other things that we would like to do and then get to do. So as long as we can check those boxes and still have a fund balance available, we can see how that works. Our budget for 26 is about to wrap up. For 27, we have some other priorities that we do have on the agenda to do, but we can definitely look and see what that balance looks like, or if other projects are moving quicker and we don't utilize those full budgets. So with some time, I can prepare, what that might look like for your November meeting, perhaps.
Do you think that I should put that on, like, as a recommendation, an action item that ATAC recommends a feasibility, trail feasibility study.
I would say that, yes, and although our current budget is already planned for 27, not to say that we couldn't amend that budget. We amend the budget from time to time for different needs. But I would say for sure for the next 28 to 29 budget, because we do it in 2-year cycles, at the very least, let's put it on the recommendation for that, which would be November 20, or I'm sorry, the fall of 27 through the fall of 28, and then the fall of 29. That would be that time span. But we could look at amending the 26 to 27.
Or at least to get the first preliminary part. We would do it in 2 phases.
And it would take some research from Anita or any experts here in the field of, what is anticipated for that budget to be. What is the anticipated goals, outcomes, strategies? What is the budget? What are we asking for, basically, so that we can then take that and then I can compare that against the other items that we have to do if it were to be through that angle of the planning work program. Otherwise, we could then explore, again, the other discretionary programs such as SS for A. And I actually did apply for the AARP opportunity, Health Communities Opportunity, that touched on this regional study creatively through aging in place and things like that. I applied for that last year. We were not awarded, but not to say that we can't use that narrative or pieces of that narrative to keep, pursuing other opportunities. So it's just a creative approach, how it is, or whatever angle you take.
Sure. And maybe with that study, or just like an interesting question to maybe explore, is I had a discussion with someone about the fact that, like when we were young, like riding a bike was like pretty much a skill set that every child had. It's like, where are we now? Like where do we fall on the spectrum of like how many kids know how to ride a bike? It might be a simple question to ask without having to go into like too crazy of a survey.
Well, a couple of years ago, when I was providing pedestrian safety at the bike rodeo with Baylor Scott and White, there was a group of teenagers, there was 3 of them that actually won bikes that have never ridden a bike. And so we had to take them over to the bike shop at Southern Country Cycling. And I said, hey, they need some 101 on how to ride bikes. And probably, again, he's been out in the field a lot, he would know right off the top of his head that there's a whole generation that probably doesn't know how to ride a bike.
So we can do all the work to do the bike leads and not be too many people riding bikes. So anyway, just thought that might be an interesting question. Somebody brought it up and I was. But yeah, any other public comments?
Well, I'd like to just point out, right now, Central Texas Council of Governments and KTMPO is in that dark blue boundary. It's Copper's Cove, Kentner, and Oliveville County. We are doing a transit planning for FY 27 to 31. And please take the survey. We're walkers, bikers, peddlers, and equestrian riders, but let's also use transit. Love there. So James. And this is that public comment that I mentioned about shade. This is, this was an opportunity for KTMPO to really provide education on what we do and what we don't do. But in the middle of what we do, what I thought was really interesting is that this is Highway 190 in downtown Copper's Cove on the left. And what he did was he used AI to generate some shade trees. I was looking on the right and I'm like, I don't know where that's at. And he's like, I did that with AI. And so he was such a delightful young man. But what I thought was so interesting, this comment received 196 likes and 148 actual comments. And that was he screenshotted that, and then we had conversations about a week later, and it was still blowing up.
Yeah.
So shade is a priority for our
I know, in relation to that, a couple of years ago, it was, the city manager, they actually put together finance for, once they were talking about the bypass, they were gonna take, Highway 190 there and turn it into business one way. And they had plans to, they were gonna add sidewalks and, they were actually gonna have center median, little shade areas, park benches. Reason I came into this was we were gonna have, bus stops, set up with specific part of the plan, and they had a lot of, they had a lot of support, just, it was a funding issue.
Yeah, and those things are funding issues. When you're looking at infrastructure and amenities, shade sort of gets, there's less opportunity, grant opportunities for shade.
Yeah.
And maybe that's going to change in the future. But those projects that you're referring to, those are the projects that are actually in our MTP 2015.
Yeah.
Those are their IDs. So this is.
That's what I get for only reading the public transit portion of it.
Oh, that's okay. I wanted to let everybody know that, what I'm trying to do is when we have a public comment, I used to just ask, is it in the MTP? But now I want to tie it directly to the KTMPO ID so that it gives more clear to the person that's making the comment and to all of us that are learning about what the public's really interested in. And I'm hoping that this gentleman, see that it received over 1,000+ views with 700 unique viewers. So let's see. And
Video usually get more hits too. If I post a video versus a photo.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
It's a real.
And I was on AI, adding animation to the photo, it's really easy.
Yeah. And then here's some public comments that we received: 2 in June, 2 in July, and 1 in August. And for this period, we have a total of 134 comments. And I think that KTMPO projects and plans were made, majority of those, specifically the regional active transportation plan, and a lot of comments. And some staff updates, which is.
Yes, so just to briefly wrap up today's meeting, our meetings for the month of September and October are on your screen. We do have a technical advisory committee, transportation policy board. If y'all are not attending those or listening into those, if you've not attended one in the past, we do invite you to. It's very important that we aren't disjointed from our other partner entities and that we had that continuity of, we want to reflect what's being spoken about here into those committees, but that the presence is also important too, even to provide public comment on things. Your opinion and your comment would be valued, very valued. On to the next slide, the Texas Transportation, Active Transportation, Texas Trails and Active Transportation Conference is coming up in November. If you're interested in that, Anita has more information for you, as well as in the middle of September, Anita and I will be going to AMPO, and that'll be in California. Lots of deep dive into studies, ideas, concepts to bring back. So Anita will be able to report on her findings and her takeaways at the November meeting as well. And then also just kind of high-level legislative updates. I know our guest today was able to speak on some Texas updates, but as you may or may not know, our current surface transportation bill, the IIJA, it is set to expire in September 30th. There is hints that will be extended for another year. So as the House has proposed the Bill 250 proposal. The Senate is still working on their plan. And so the likelihood of that getting done before September 30th is slim. So we do anticipate a continuing resolution for into 2027. But right now, the House, their proposed Bill 250 as it pertains to active transportation, they do plan to, they're proposing to eliminate the carbon reduction plan. They are proposing to eliminate the active transportation infrastructure investment program, which was more for regional connectivity. However, there is an increase of the SS4A as far as the federal share. So that's one of those grant opportunities we talked about before as far as safety planning and safety demonstration. So that is the federal share currently is, it's an 80-20 split. So the federal share would be 90% with a 10% match, and there would be a designated 30% rural set aside. So that's important for our smaller communities that of that discretionary program, there would be, because currently there is no rural set aside. So there would be a 30% rural set aside. The transportation alternatives, the TAP program that a lot of our small communities apply through, and that would continue, but under the surface transportation block grant, it would be a 10% set aside. Recreational trails programs would continue at $84 million a year. Again, just there's more of a shift in focus towards highway capacity, bridges, safety, infrastructure. So that kind of emphasizes the importance of active transportation planning, being creative to frame their priorities under kind of those goals. So again, that is all just in the Bill 250 House proposal. We don't know yet what the Senate looks like, but we'll see what theirs says. There'll be quite a bit of negotiations between the two versions that will then, go on into 2027 likely. So you'll be hearing more from Anita and those updates. If you're not following AMPO, A-M-P-O, it's the Association of MPOs. They have I believe it's twice a month newsletter that comes out. It's called the National Beat. They have great updates and they break it even down by topic. They have interest groups if you're interested in serving or listening into interest groups, webinars, things like that. We can send you some of that information as well. On the state side, you probably are familiar with TxDOT's action plan. It's the Active Transportation Investment Opportunity Network. That is where they've taken their implementation and they are now doing data-driven implementation of their plans. And so I would encourage you to look at that. It's to prioritize bicycle and projects. Again, SS4A, that is an ongoing opportunity. We'll see what happens with that. But beyond that, that's kind of high level what's happening as far as conferences and other opportunities to engage. Air quality, 50 and 51 parts per billion on the screen. And if there's any other questions, I'll be happy to assist. The last item was member comments. I think we covered those in the public, but if anybody has any alibis, you're welcome.
Happy to just congratulations to be here for another year.
Thank you.
I'm excited for the next year.
So with that, we'll adjourn at 11. Yeah.